Hello, golf fans. It may be December, but that does not mean it's not time for golf. It's a big deal here, and with another edition of the Big D podcast. Before I bring in today's special guest, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. We can see all our content, good and bad. You can see my rant on Urban Meyer. I wanted him fired, and he got sacked this week, yesterday. So, and also check out the Big D podcast on Spotify and Apple. So, joining us is one of my UK golfing friends, Tom Jacobs, to review the 2021 golf season. Tom, I can't believe it. Where did all the golf go?
I know it's like rats on a sinking ship. It very quickly wraps up, and we have a couple of pretty mediocre events to end the year where they kind of try and cling on to golf until the end of the season, and then they officially call it quits. But it won't be long, will it, before we're back in Hawaii for a double header, and people are already ready to talk about the majors for next year.
Yeah. I'm thinking back in your neck of the woods. Hawaii might not sound like a bad idea now, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. It's wow, yeah, this thing, isn't it? But it was a big year, wasn't it? It was a big, lots of surprises. Obviously, one very big surprise major winner last season. Couple of lit downs, which we'll obviously go into as well. But more importantly, there's a lot of positive stories. I think a lot of people that made some big progress in the world rankings, which obviously you know about, I know about, and we'll talk about those all here.
Yeah, so ultimately, which golfer do you think performed the best in 2021?
So I think it has to go to Collin Morikawa, right? I think that it was looking like John Rahm for a lot of 2021. I think he obviously had his breakout major victory and just went on that tear, but he only won once, right? And when you're playing your best goal, he won twice, didn't he? He won the US Open and the Tour Championship technically, if you want to count that. But officially he's only got the one victory. And when you're playing as well as he was for 2021, you really need to take more of an advantage of that. We talk about Patrick Cantlay, who doesn't seem to come up in these conversations other than people moaning that he won the award. And he won, what was it, 3 times this season. So, there's a lot of debates, but I think Collin Morikawa overall was the man for the year.
Agree. I mean, when I see Collin Morikawa, I see consistency. I mean, no golfer has done better the last year and a half after he beat Justin Thomas at the Walk Day last year, and then came back, won the PGA at Holden Park, and then this year, let's see, he won the WGC just up the road from me.
Yep.
Even though Augusta's not really a Morikawa course, top 20 there.
Yep.
Top 10 at the PGA and US Open. And let's see, he won this event. I'm confused. He won the Open Championship. I hear it's a half decent event, right?
Yeah, I mean, he put us all off the scent with his. He was terrible in the Scottish Open, and he basically said that he didn't understand how to play links golf. He didn't know how to hit his irons through the turf. So everyone was off of him, and then 2 days into the week, he after everyone's already placed their bets, decided to tell everyone that he switched up his irons for the week and he's ready to go. And just like that, he was a major winner again. But I mean, it wasn't really a true Open Championship. I know that sounds a bit harsh, but I think that there wasn't really the weather. The scoring was pretty easy for an Open Championship. So, if you get some bad weathers on the bad side of the draw at St Andrews this year, then you're going to be struggling, and we might see what we thought we were going to see at Morikawa this year. But I just think that the reason I think he's my player of the year is he just sticks to what he does, right? He's an elite iron player. He's got great touch around the greens, not on the greens, and he's an incredibly straight driver of the ball. So whilst he doesn't hit it as long as everybody else, he finds his fairways, finds greens, and he's just very volatile with the putter, right? And that's actually better than just being flat out terrible. You got these guys that consistently are zero strokes game putters that don't really lose it through their putting, but don't win it either. And he can have weeks where he gains 5 or 6 strokes and he wins the tournament. So I think he has that special elite talent, whereas you had Justin Thomas was one of the best iron players in the world for a long time, and I think Morikawa was firmly taken that handle and starting to look a lot like a certain Tiger Woods with his irons. So there's a lot to like about Collin Morikawa. Really good statesman for the game, really good for the PGA Tour. But in Morikawa and his brilliance, it's quite easy to forget how good Victor Hovland was. I thought Victor Hovland was brilliant for a lot of the year, and there is that kind of stickler that he hasn't won on US soil yet, which I think is just a formality. He just happens to like Mayakoba and Puerto Rico, but he'll get the win. It will come, and it'll probably come quite early next season, and it will be a non-story again. But yeah, you agree that Collin Morikawa was the man then?
Yep. And also he won the race, became the first American to win the race for Dubai, which is something you never see a PGA Tour golfer win a European award.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those weird things that if Tiger Woods had the European Tour membership, he won the money list every year, right? So, I was very outspoken on Twitter that I didn't like the fact that he had the opportunity to win it. I'm glad that the fact that he did win it by winning the golf tournament helped his cause. I think that's always important. But he shouldn't really have been there, right? I mean, he played, 2 events outside of the majors. And the difference between the European Tour scoring and the FedEx Cup is the FedEx Cup is based on FedEx Cup points, right? So every event is unless it's an opposite field event, which is like 300 points, every PGA Tour victory is 500 points. Then it goes 550 for a WGC and 600 for a major championship. And that's not too much of a differential. Whereas the European Tour or the DP World Tour, as we like to call it now, is all based on prize money. So Collin Morikawa was playing for 2 million at the Open Championship with his winner's check, and Thomas Pieters was winning 200,000 for his tournament. And you just simply can't compete with that if you're not a regular in the majors. So Richard Bland, who had a very, very good season, Minwoo Lee had very good seasons, just didn't have the opportunity to compete for that title because they weren't playing in the major championships regularly enough.
That Richard Bland story, golfer, became like a big story. I'm trying to remember what major it was that Bland.
Is the US Open? He led after 36 holes, didn't he, at Torrey Pines? And I never saw that. I like to think I know what I'm looking at and what I'm talking about. But Richard Bland, I used to rip into him quite a lot, really, and say that he was a non-winner. And it was great to see him win. It was great to see him break through at the British Masters, big tournament over here. And he got the honour of hitting the first tee shot at the Open Championship, had that 36-hole lead at the US Open, obviously fell away, but his consistency after that victory was absolutely a sight to behold.
Yeah, and Richard Bland wasn't the only I don't know if you call him old golfer, but maybe elder statesman to win this year. How about Phil Mickelson at age 50 winning the PGA? Was that the biggest surprise of the year?
Yeah, it has to be, right. I would say that I was quite surprised what Richard Bland did. It was pretty remarkable. But 50 going on 51, Phil Mickelson winning the PGA Championship, and he just wasn't even playing well, right? Like, if it was a case of he had played decently the week before at Quail Hollow, where he plays well quite often, if he had done that and finished top 10, then maybe it wouldn't have been that surprising. It's still surprising because he's 50 years of age, but he'd have seen some form. But he had 2 decent finishes. He was 21st at the Masters, 25th at the Honda Classic, 35th at the Players. So when you look at what he was doing in the bigger, the stronger field, the Players Championship, the Masters, the Honda, they're all top 35, top 25 finishes. So maybe that should have been a sign, but you had to go back to the FedEx St. Jude a year before for his last top 10. So it was a bit of a surprise. And then he went and goes and beats everybody on the Champions Tour as well. As I think it was 4 wins and 6 starts. So that's going to be the Phil Mickelson Tour now. It's been Bernard Langer's time, and now it's Phil Mickelson's if he wants to play regularly enough.
I think what Phil showed is age can be a number. If you keep yourself in shape, don't have any injuries, you can age gracefully. And Phil still hits the ball a long way.
He does.
I'm not sure Phil's
what direction.
Now it might go in the trees, it might go some East front lawn, it might go in the drink, but Phil can hit the ball a long way, and we see there has never been a magician with the wedges like Phil.
And that's the thing, right? Is that there's two important things you made there. Is you keep yourself in shape, and he's not an athlete. He's not the biggest athlete, right? He's just looked after his body reasonably well towards later in the career. As you see, 10 years ago, PGA Tour players were just, once they got to their 50s, they were accepting that it was over for them, right? And Phil's always been wayward off the tee. He's always been pretty long, but he's always been wayward, and he's always been brilliant with his short game, and that will remain until he loses, that little bit of touch. It tends to go on the putting greens eventually, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it'd be that surprising if he went and won another tournament next year. I think we've seen worse players than him contend in tournaments at a big age, and I think that 50-year-olds in golf now is not the same as 50-year-olds in golf 10, 15, 20 years ago. I think it's we're seeing Lee Westwood is close to going to, he's close to 50 years of age. He's coming up to the Champions Tour eventually. So, yeah, I think for me that was, is a pretty exciting thing. But for me, Dylan, I mean, I know who I was going to say, but who for you would have been your biggest improver? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a young guy. I mean, the guy that I would pick is, but who would you say made the biggest leaps, in 2021?
Oh, that's a good question, because it's funny, because the question is, when is this guy going to win? Because I keep seeing Scottie Scheffler come somewhere near the leaderboard in like every event. I'm like, when is he going to win? When is he going to win?
Yeah, and I think as well with that is that he's kind of been this good since he's been out, right? He won on the Corn Ferry Tour, and then came out here and he was very quickly contending on things. And I actually don't think he's taken as much as he's climbed up the world rankings from, I think he ended the year at 31st and got up right to 11th, which is why you would say that he was one of the biggest improvers in terms of the world rankings. I don't think that he's quite done it, and it does concern me. I watched that Houston Open where he had a really good opportunity to win, and 3 straight bogeys down the back 9 was a worry. And Jason Kokrak, who would be one of these players that you could say is one of the most improved, obviously took the spoils. But for me, it was Sam Burns. I think that what he showed in 2021, and I mean, I know that you know the answer. I mean, you're pretty clued up on these type of things, but if anyone was to guess how old Sam Burns was, I bet they would think he was older than he actually is. Do you know how old he was, Dylan?
25.
25, 26, I think he is now. And that's what Scottie Scheffler's age is, right? And that's only a year older than Collin Morikawa. And it's everyone kind of
is 25.
25, there you go. So he's not even 26. And everyone kind of views him as this guy that's been around for so long, and that's because he has. He's been around for a decently long time. 2015, he started playing some PGA Tour events, but they kind of wrote him off early. He didn't get over the line a couple of times, and then all of a sudden, what was it? 2 wins this year, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 of those seconds could have easily been victories. He lost in the playoff at the FedEx St. Jude to another new winner in Abraham Answer. And back at Riviera, he had a lead for a good period of time as well. So, yeah, I would say that he was my biggest improver. But on the opposite side of things, Dylan, who do you think regressed the most in 2021? Who let themselves down to a point where you're actually worried about their future and the immediate future in 2022?
I can't believe I'm saying it, because at the end of 2020, nobody was dominating the golf like this man. But did you see Justin Johnson's 2021 season? It was strange.
Yeah. It was.
I mean, he won the Saudi Arabia tournament, but on the PGA Tour itself, DJ was not himself, and in the majors, he contended, or sort of contending at the
Open Championship. He was
Open.
Yeah,
but I mean, I didn't see the same DJ miss the cut at the Masters, miss the cut at the PGA. I mean, it just didn't look like the same Justin Johnson I've used to seeing the last decade plus.
And I think a lot of that may come from the fact that he got that Masters victory in November last year. Like, I think that was a huge goal for him, was not necessarily just to win the Masters, but to back up that US Open win that he had, to really vindicate himself as a two-time major winner. And I think once he achieved, I don't know if this is true, there could have been a multitude of reasons, but I think that once you've done something like that, you maybe take the foot off the pedal a bit. Maybe the hunger goes away. Like, okay, I'm a two-time major winner now. I've done my bit. You know, I can rock up to an event and win it on talent alone if I apply myself. So I won't try too hard. And you can see by the time he got to the end, you can very clearly see what at the end of 2021 when he lost that kind of first place in the world rankings after finishing 19th at the US Open. He went 19th, 25th, 8th, 2 missed cuts, and a 10th, 6th, and an 8th again. So he very quickly started to contend again. I think that maybe that was the kind of shock he needed. But I mean, there's been a couple of guys that really kind of fell away. I mean, maybe it's been cooking for a little while, but Bubba Watson I thought was a bit of a concern. And I really like Bubba Watson. I like the game of golf that he plays. But he split up his longtime caddy Ted Scott. You know, that's over and done with now. And you know, I think there's a big chance of Justin Rose bouncing back in 2022, but he wasn't great this year. I mean, he played better earlier in the season than people gave him credit for, but ultimately didn't get over the line. So, yeah, I think there's a couple of candidates really for me that I would be slightly worried about. Ricky Fowler, you want to see him turn it around pretty quick. And then you've just got the obvious guys. I mean, there's just Jason Day. I mean, where is his golf game going? I mean, I know he played well at the Players tournament last week, but doesn't look like he's going to be number one in the world anytime again soon. So it's going to be interesting to see what 2022 happens. I mean, we were talking off air before we came on, Dylan, weren't we? We've got some great venues this season for the major championships.
Yep, indeed. I mean, Augusta's hosting the Masters. Southern Hills hosting the PGA. Country Club at Brookline's hosting the US Open. And then St. Andrews is hosting the 150 Open Championship.
If you had to pick one, it doesn't matter which event, one person that you think will definitely win a major in 2022, based on those courses that you've got in front of you there, who would you be most confident pinning your hat to?
Probably Xander.
Okay.
Xander.
It's interesting because doesn't win a lot of PGA Tour events in general, does he? So I think it's going to happen, isn't it? Right? You know, yes. I think again he's another guy that has been written off because he doesn't win as much as people think he should. And you're always comparing it to kind of heroics from others. Like Collin Morikawa has been so good. John Rahm's been so good. Patrick Cantlay has been very good over the last couple of years. Bryson DeChambeau has changed golf. So all of a sudden, you got his weighty expectations. But it's very hard to say that he'll definitely win one for me, this guy that I'm going to say. But I think I'm very confident that Victor Hovland's going to start contending in these major championships this year, because that is the next natural step for his game, right? He ended the year last year in 14th place in the world rankings. He's now up to the top 7 after his Hero World Challenge win. Southern Hills is in Oklahoma. It's obviously where he went to school. You know, he's in Augusta now. I don't see why St Andrews wouldn't suit his game. I think he's plenty good enough to contend there. I don't know much about Brookline in general to know who would win there, but I guess his power and his driving will get him through there. Brooks Koepka, maybe he's going to come back and get one after going so close last year and not doing it. Probably should have won that PGA Championship, right? You know, that's
which one?
Yeah,
all of them.
That's the thing, is that what we don't really give credit to that week when Phil Mickelson won is just how Brooks Koepka didn't look like Brooks Koepka in that final round. Very, very early on, he showed he was quite fragile. He shot 74 on that final day. Okay, he only lost by 1 stroke on the day to Phil Mickelson, but that wasn't quite the Brooks that we're used to. And like you say, which PGA Championship? It was the year before he was right up in contention, and threw that away as well. So, and then what was it, 4th at the US Open as well, at Torrey Pines. So had some chances, right? And I think that eventually that's going to come good. He's very bullish. He's saying that the best is yet to come still. I don't know if he's just saying that. It's Brooks Koepka, right? And he's been too busy beefing with Bryson DeChambeau to really focus on his golf game week to week. But that, to me, it would probably be Victor Hovland would be someone I'd be really confident in. Maybe you should be going to someone that's already won one, but there's 2 guys that you've given Xander, I've given Victor Hovland. There's 2 guys that could. I mean, the easy answer is John Rahm. The easy answer is Collin Morikawa. The easy answer is Justin Thomas, right? I think they're 3 guys that are very easy. Justin Thomas sneakily had a pretty disappointing year, I thought. I know he won the Players' Championship, but that stretch of golf after he won that, he had 1 top 8 at the Scottish Open until he got to the FedEx Cup playoffs, and then he come alive. He was 4th at the Northern Trust, 4th at the Tour Championships on the 72-hole scoring, 3rd at Mayakoba, 5th at the Hero World. So he come alive again, a bit like DJ did at the end of the year. But some of those finishes after the Players, he was poor at the match play, 21st at the Masters, 13th at the Valspar, 26th at the Wells Fargo, 40th at the Charles Schwab, missed the cut at the PGA, 42nd at Memorial, never there at US Open, 20th, 40th Open Championship. That's not the kind of golf that we're used to from Justin Thomas. And it was basically down to the putter, right? And when it's only 1 club, you can be pretty sure he's going to bring it back. But I think that, he said it himself. I've heard him in interviews. He basically gave himself a pretty tough score in his year as a whole. But, it will be interesting to see. I mean, there's guys up there that I look at the world rankings now. I'm just looking at it as we speak, and there's a couple of guys up there that I think are in fragile positions. I'm not sure Louis Oosthuizen's going to be in the top 10 in the world rankings next year. Harris English hasn't quite been the same since he changed his putter grip at the Ryder Cup, one that he's been using for 20 years. I don't know what to expect out of Jordan Spieth this year. I mean, I assume he'll be pretty good because we saw the flashbacks earlier in the year when he won in Texas, but winning in Texas where you'd expect him to win. And again, since he was 2nd in the Open Championship, he was 12th at the FedEx St. Jude, but then he went on a really torrid run of form. So I don't know what to expect from Jordan Spieth in 20. What do you think would happen with Jordan Spieth in 2022?
I think 1 or 2 things happens with Jordan Spieth. Either he gets over the major hump.
Yep.
And it's almost like a reincarnation of what Phil did this past year. Or Spieth regresses and reverts back to more of his old self in the previous few years.
I think the worry with Jordan Spieth is that he's kind of got that classical skill set where he relies a lot on his short game, and his driving has never been the absolute best. I know he had a very good period where he's excellent with his irons for a couple of years, but how many times did we see him just making 50-foot putts, 70-foot putts, chip-ins? Like, that was just what he did. And eventually, I think that kind of caught up with him, and he had to go and address the issues of his driving. That derailed him for a long time. And I think there's been signs that's coming back, but I'm not entirely sure what to expect in 2022.
So, interesting you mentioned Bryson and Brooks, because lately the Bryson DeChambeau Brooks Koepka rivalry has become extra spicy. Of course, they played the match, which really wasn't much of a match because Brooks won that handily. Do you think this Brooks-Bryson rivalry will end up being good for them? And which guy do you think it benefits more?
I think it's just a branding thing, right? I think it's a pip money thing. I don't think they really hate each other. I think if they really hated each other, they wouldn't have been able to get on at the Ryder Cup. I think if they really hated one another, they wouldn't have done the match because they just wouldn't want to spend 12 holes with one another. So I think it was a very good marketing ploy for both of them. I think that maybe Brooks benefited in the end because he got that win at the match and kind of said, there you go, I've beat you head to head. And Bryson was just, Bryson knows what to do on the internet, right? He's this new age golfer where he knows how to do his YouTube channels, as you do, knows how to do his Twitch, knows how to do Instagram Live. And that was just what he did. He had a chat with his manager and said, let's start up a beef with Brooks Koepka. And I think that's all it was. I don't think there's really anything to it. I think that next year we'll hear very little about it until maybe they play with one another in a grouping or something, and maybe someone makes a bit of a quip at it. But I can't see it being a big thing. But who do you think has to have a big 2020? Like who, if they don't do something this year, it could be Rory winning a major again. It could be Scheffler winning a PGA Tour event for the first time. It could be, I don't know, just someone getting back in the winner's circle. Who do you think needs the biggest change in 2022?
That's a good one. I think Justin Thomas needs to maybe not win in majors, but he's got to be there. He's got to be there in majors, because we've seen Collin Morikawa win a couple of majors. We've seen guys contend in majors. I mean, true, JT won the 2017 PGA at Quay Hollow.
Right.
And everybody has wondered, could Justin Thomas prove he's not just a one-time major winner? Because Y Yang has won the same amount of majors as Justin Thomas.
And I think that's it, like what we said about Dustin Johnson. I know Dustin Johnson's obviously a bit further into his career, but I think there is always a thing that if you win one, it could be lucky, right? And if you win two, it means you're an extremely good major player. And Justin Thomas's record since winning the PGA hasn't been great in majors. I know 2020 had a 4th and an 8th, but 2018 he was 17th in the Masters, 2050 US Open, miscut Open Championship, 6th at the PGA. Then 2019, 12th in the Masters, didn't play the PGA, missed the cut US Open, 11th in the Open. 2020 again, there wasn't the greatest performances. He had a 4th in the Masters, 8th in the US Open, but 37th in the PGA. It was pretty disappointing. And it's been the same in 2021 as well. 21st cut, 19th, 40th. That's not the level you're expecting. I mean, Brooks Koepka will just have a top 5 in a major every year. He needs to do that, I think. So I think that's an interesting one. But I think that really for me, I think Rory has got to get over that major hump. Like, I think that's been a long time coming. It's great seeing him win the CJ Cup. It's great him win, contending at Dubai or whatever. But where is it? He won as well, Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo.
Yeah, that's great, but he doesn't get out of bed to win those tournaments, does he? He gets out of bed to compete in major championships. And the one sore subject is obviously Augusta. That's the one that he wants to win. I don't necessarily think it has to be that one next year. I think he just has to get back to winning major championships, and then he can set his sights on Augusta again. So I think between him and I think between Scottie Scheffler getting that first PGA Tour victory, because, I'm a big advocate of doing it. Like, I think if you're someone that's routinely finishing 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 6th, 7th, I think that's underrated, right? And I think a lot of people jumped on Tony Finau's back when really they didn't need to. Like, a win will happen if you're there all the time. But he has started to throw some tournaments away, and I think that's a bit of a concern until he does actually change that up.
Yeah, you can't be the bridesmaid. Sometimes you've got to be married.
Yeah, Louis Oosthuizen, he loves the bridesmaids at the major championships. But
Louis got what? How many 2nd or 3rd place finishes does he have in the major?
If I was a Louis Oosthuizen fan, I'd be sitting in a dark room most times he gets in the major championship, because it's actually amazing how often he contends in them. I mean, he was 2nd at the 2012 Masters to Bubba Watson, 2nd again at the US Open and the Open Championship in 2015, 2nd at the PGA 2017, 3rd at the US Open 2020, and then 2nd, 3rd at the PGA US Open and Open last year. Like, that is just phenomenal. Like, he's had 6 seconds in total in major championships, 2 thirds, and just that one victory. So it is a bit of a concern. I think that why is that he's not getting over the line when he's there that many options? tough.
Yeah. So, who do you think ends up winning? I know 2022 major season's way ahead of us. We don't know how guys will perform. We don't know what's going to happen. But who do you think ends up winning the full majors right now?
I think that I'd like to see Brooks contend at Augusta. I think he's shown that he can do that. So I think he's got a good opportunity there. Justin Thomas has been improving there as well. Sneakily, I think that Sam Burns could win one of either the US Open or the PGA Championship. I think that's a very realistic possibility. And then I think St Andrews will go. So St Andrews is so hard because until the draw comes out, you have no idea. I mean, Bryson DeChambeau could literally tear St Andrews apart. It could literally get remodeled if Bryson DeChambeau wants to. So it'll be interesting if he gets some benign conditions and he gets the right side of the draw. The tournament record could be in jeopardy.
I'm just saying. If it's calm conditions, Bryson might go 65, 65, 65, 65.
Yeah.
He might hit the ball through the green on some of these holes.
Well, this is the trouble. Is I think that coming with that long distances, he's got to. Sometimes it goes really wrong, right? You know, he hits it too far, and sometimes he leaves himself a really awkward chip that he's not very good at. So, the one thing I like about Bryson DeChambeau is that when there's a weakness, he'll go and fix it. Like he fixed his putting, and if he can fix his chipping and his just general wedge game, 100 yards and in, it's going to be frightening. Like we've been talking about Bryson taking over golf for a long time, and it hasn't materialised yet. But if he fixes that wedge game, it is game over for a lot of the tour because only probably 5 or 6 guys can keep up with him.
I can't wait to see Bryson and St Andrews. I mean, you imagine a big name winning the 150th. I mean, other than maybe Tiger, that'd be the biggest thing you could think of, Frank.
Funny you mentioned Tiger Woods, right? You know, he's playing this week at the father-son, which Justin Thomas is going to win, which is absolutely ridiculous that he's allowed to be the son in the scenario of the father-son challenge when, you know, he's one of the best players in the world. And, you know, same with the quarters as well that they're playing. But I don't know what to expect about Tiger Woods. There's a lot of people very, very excited about him playing at the Masters in 2022. And there's nothing yet to suggest that he's going to do that. I know he was warming up at the range at the Bahamas, but he's going to be playing 36 holes this weekend in a golf cart. He's not going to have to hit his driver because he's just going to take Charlie's drives off the tee. So I don't think we're going to learn anything about Tiger Woods yet that we don't already know. I would remain cautious about Tiger Woods' chances of any major options in 2022. I certainly wouldn't be betting him until I've seen him play one in another tournament.
I want to see Tiger hit 4 straight days of drivers before I even think about betting him, using him anywhere.
Well, I think like he can hit every club in the bag, right? But he can't do that after walking 4 tournament rounds. Like you want him to, you know, everyone talks about, you don't know how hilly Augusta is until you get there. Well, Tiger knows how hilly Augusta is. He's walked around there 100 times and he's going to find it out when he's in a bad shape with his leg and his back. And to me, I love Tiger Woods. I absolutely, there's a lot wider issue we can talk about Tiger Woods, which probably take another hour that I'm not going to go into. But I just don't want people to get so excited because of what happened in 2019. So we've had the 2019 Masters victory for Tiger Woods. We've had the 2021 PGA victory with Phil Mickelson. And then suddenly everyone just thinks that's going to be common practice, right? And those are the 2 best to do it for years, right? They are very, very special players that break the mold. They don't set new trends. I certainly don't expect to see Bubba Watson suddenly playing his best golf as he gets towards 50. I certainly don't expect, you know, some of them have improved. Lee Westwood's been playing some of his best golf later on in his life, but again, do I expect Lee Westwood to be favourites for major championships next year? No, I don't. So Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, it really is difficult to predict. As we say, it's probably way too early to think. But if you could get a 20-1 number about Brooks Koepka in any major championship, I think that's probably. I mean, I think he's 20-1 for the Masters at the moment. Probably because that's one that people don't expect to see him win so soon, with the injury doubts and things like that. But I think 20-1 and up for Brooks Koepka in major championships is always worth looking at because he does just play them so differently to everything else. I think he's 20-1 for the Masters, and you can get 20-1 for the PGA Championship at Southern Hills as well.
I might need to look into that because I think Brooks Koepka's good. I think Brooks Koepka and Southern Hills will be a match made in heaven.
Yeah, and what will happen is he'll play really well there, and everyone will go, "Why didn't I bet Brooks Koepka?" Right? And you don't. It's not like you're taking on the favourite. You're not taking on Jon Rahm, and you feel let down when he doesn't win. You're backing a guy that's twice the price of the favourite, has proven major pedigree. Is there people that I think are more likely to win one? Yeah, I think like I said, Victor Hovland and people like that. But I would certainly not be ruling out Brooks Koepka, and he showed it even injured this year. He showed what he can do in a major championship. So that would be the worry for everyone else.
Yeah, you imagine Brooks Koepka ever got healthy, he might win.
Yeah.
He might win all the majors.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, he's the type of person that wins multiple in a year, right? That's what he can do. So I would be concerned. But talking about golf in general for 2022, then we've got the rebranded tour in the DP World Tour. Now it's no longer the European Tour because they're playing in Japan, they're playing in Kilimanjaro, they're playing in everywhere. They're going all over the globe, right? And I think that's good for that tour because the players are going to be playing for bigger purses. They co-sanctioned some events for the PGA Tour. I think the Scottish Open is a PGA Tour event. The Irish Open is getting the bigger prize money.
Is the Saudi Arabia event going to be co-sanctioned too? Is that why everybody's going over there?
That is an Asian tour event. So that is with the new Super League, right? That Greg Norman's running. So they all have to get releases from the PGA Tour to go there. So at the moment, they're saying if you go there, you're going to lose your PGA Tour rights. That won't happen. They'll let them go there. I think it's Dustin Johnson, it's Graham McDowell, it's Abraham Answer, it's Bryson, it's
Sanders. I think Sanders going too.
Possibly. Phil is probably going for another paycheck, because he hasn't got enough money already. So it's we know what it is. I don't take it personally. I don't care. They want to pay them that money to come over to the event. They accept the money. I know that there's a lot of human rights issues over there, and there's a lot of reasons not to go to Saudi Arabia, but there's a lot of talk at the moment about that they keep coming out with the wrong answers when they're asked. They keep saying the golf course is amazing. Just don't ask them. They're not going to come out and say something against Saudi Arabia, because then they'll get on the phone and they'll say, "Oh, you're not coming anymore. That's $2.5 million we're taking out your pocket." So they've got to just talk nonsense. They've got to just toe the line and get into that event and get $2 million for not playing. They don't even have to make the cut. It's just an appearance fee. So it'll be interesting to see. I listened to, is it Andy Gardner, the guy that does the PGL? He runs that sounds like an interesting concept. It's going along the lines of a Formula One model where they play 20 events a year and they've all got teams and they can draft players in their teams and things like that. So that's actually sounds like an interesting concept, but I just don't know quite how that's going to come to fruition against the PGA Tour.
Especially when you've got guys playing all over the world, because what if one guy's on the European Tour, one guy's on the US, on the PGA or the DP World Tour, one guy's in the US. That would be fun to create a team, but might be a little nerve-wracking to figure out, okay, does this result count?
Yeah. That's the tough thing, and they don't know quite how they're going to get world ranking points because they need it to be co-sanctioned, and there's an awful lot of things that go into it. So as much as it sounds like an interesting concept, until there's any sort of suggestion it's going to work, I don't think it's a threat to the PGA Tour. They'll just keep giving people more pit money to keep just keep giving Tiger Woods $50 million a year, and everyone will stick around. So certainly an interesting topic there.
So thanks for hopping on, Tom. We wish you the well. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and hopefully 2022 is a lot bright, not just for you, but in the golf world.
Yeah, I agree. Dylan, thank you for having me on, buddy. Have a great Christmas, great New Year, happy holidays. You've been excellent. I've really enjoyed obviously meeting you in 2021, doing these videos with you. You do a great job every week. So just be really proud of yourself for that. And the good news is, Dylan, that we didn't touch upon is that you get to possibly enjoy some Jacksonville Jaguars in 2022 because Urban Meyer has been shown the door. He might have possibly even been kicked out of the door because he certainly kicked Josh Lambo before he left. So
I think somebody showed him the door too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's. I'm just waiting for it to be the London Jaguars, Dylan, but I don't think it'll be long.
When we play at Tottenham Hotspur.
That's it. Yeah, it won't be
long,
buddy.
Super Bowl in London.
It won't be long. It's gonna have. I saw they announced. Is it 6 or 8 teams that have got a marketing campaign in the UK? Jets are one of them. Dolphins are one of them. I think Jags are one. Vikings. 49ers obviously got a partnership with Leeds United as well. So lots of good stuff to come to the UK NFL market. But another subject.
Yeah.